And we welcome Steve Bone to Pompey Sound with the countdown now getting down to 3 for the start of the new season. Excited, Steve?
There, aren't we? Yes, I am. Yes, it seems to have been it seems to have been a long pre-season to me. Probably because pre-season started about 3 days after last season finished. We've had enough now, haven't we? Had enough of the friendlies and the training sessions and and this, that and the other. Ready for some proper football. Starting this weekend, seems in a way seems a long time since the end of last season. But then, football. We've had this discussion on here before, and football just doesn't stop now, does it? We don't have a proper. I'd like just a month where there's no football and no football news or anything. But it doesn't happen now. It's just one goes into another. But it will be nice to have proper, be playing for points. Win, lose or draw, we'll have something to talk about. Yes, looking forward to it, and hopefully a good season for the Blues.
Absolutely. I'm reminded of a funny moment in Frasier where Niles, who knows nothing about sport, is asked by his dad if he wants to stay and watch the boxing match on telly tonight. And Niles replied, "I didn't even know it was boxing season."
It's good. It's a fair point.
It's a point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what have you made then of the activity that what little activity there's been, really? That's what people are saying.
Yeah.
Close season.
I think we've brought in some good players. I've not seen a friendly myself yet. I usually will go to a Gosport or a Bognor, but they're ripping up their pitches and putting 3G down at the moment, so Pompey haven't played at either of those two. Didn't get to the Zwolle game last weekend, which I know many did. Good turnout for that. So I haven't seen any of these new boys in the flesh, but from what I have seen, a few clips that I've seen, and from what I've read of people talking about them, we seem to have done some good business. People are raving. Some people are raving about Sejkic. And how good he looks. Kosnovsky, to a lesser extent, is getting some good reviews. Bianchini, I'm hoping that's the right pronunciation, got himself an assist, didn't he, for the goal on Saturday in the friendly. John Swift, we kind of don't. You almost don't need to see much of John Swift because we know what we're getting there. He's going to be a solid player for us in midfield. LaRue, don't know much about LaRue yet. So I think we've made some good signings. I don't know at the moment whether we're much stronger as a squad than we were last season. I think we might be a bit stronger, but I don't think we're much stronger if you consider that we've lost... we're going to lose Ritchie, it seems, almost certain. We've lost people like Sadie and Lane now has gone, and Towler. I know they were not regular starters, but they were, they all had their uses. And I think we've probably replaced them all, man for man, like for like. We've replaced those who have gone, with the possible exception of Ritchie. I'm not sure we've got a like for like replacement for him yet. So it just feels that at the moment we're still a little bit short of where we need to be. But there's 3 weeks of the transfer window left, so I'm not panicking about it by any means. I think we're a little bit stronger, but I still think we need to get stronger. And I'm a bit worried about strikers and centre forwards and who's going to score the goals.
Come back to your thoughts about substitute benches in a second. I was there for the Zwolle game, and we were handed the team sheet, and there was no sign of Colby Bishop.
No.
Anywhere.
No.
So when we sat down at 5-3, I said to the bloke next to me, who I'd only just met, "I wonder where Colby Bishop is." And do you know what he said?
What did he say?
He's sitting next to me.
Some great conspiracy.
No, he said he's sitting next to me.
Oh,
so I looked, and he was.
Was he?
He was. He was dressed.
It's a good job Colby wasn't next to you, and that was the person you said it to. He'd have been most offended.
Well, he was dressed for a game of tennis.
Did you doff your hat and say afternoon, Colby? Why aren't you out there?
I mentally rehearsed saying to him, "Gosh, Colby, this time last year, eh?"
Yes, yeah,
Didn't.
quite. No, he was out of the team then as well for a different reason. Yes, it's a couple of weeks out, isn't it? We're told by the manager for Colby, which might mean he plays on Saturday, or it might mean he's out for 3 months. I'm not saying the manager's not right when he says he's out for 2 weeks. Maybe that is an accurate assessment, but it doesn't always follow with Pompey, does it? Sometimes it's much worse than we're led to believe. Sometimes it's much better. So we'll wait and see on that one. But without him at number 9 on Saturday, I'm assuming Waddingham will get the start. But this is where I think it's one area where we're short, isn't it? Because we've lost Yengi for very good reasons, and we've lost Sadie for very good reasons. I'm not saying either of those departures was wrong, but it doesn't leave us with much cover if Colby is out for a couple of weeks or longer at any time. And I'm sure they're working on getting another striker in. There was a bit of talk about the ex-Southampton chap, wasn't there, a couple of weeks ago, but that doesn't seem to have... Danny Ings, sorry, I couldn't remember his name for a minute. Danny Ings, there was some talk about, that doesn't seem to have come to anything. So maybe they're still working on somebody. Maybe they'll unveil somebody on Friday, day before the Oxford game, and they'll start. So a little bit of a concern there, but hopefully Colby's back soon.
Let's get your thoughts on the importance of strength in depth, which you touched on a couple of minutes ago. How important is a strong substitutes bench? And if it is important, how do you keep them happy?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a balancing act. I think it is important in today's game because people saw a big difference between our League One title winning season and, let's say, the sort of first half of last season and at times the second half of last season, in terms of you want at least 2 or 3 players on your bench who can come on and affect the game and are a different option and aren't just a replacement. And I think in League One we had that. Obviously we were playing at a lower level there, so you'd have expected us to have that. But when in League One we had people like, some weeks we had people like Lane and Kamara on the bench, and you knew that them coming on they potentially could change a game in your favour if they needed to. Last year we were putting out some benches, when I say last year I mean last season. Some weeks you would look at the 9 men on the bench and you would think that most of those are just making up the numbers. There's not a lot there. If we're 1-0 down with 20 minutes to go and not looking like scoring, is there anyone on that bench who's going to come on and really change that? And you were thinking there's not really. And I think we addressed that a little bit in January with some of the numbers that we brought in. But it is important, and I'm sure that John Massinio, in doing his transfer business this summer, has been thinking, right, what do I want my starting 11 to be, but also what do I want my next 9 to be? Who's going to be on my bench? And who's going to be, I want 3 or 4 of them at least. You don't have to have all 9 to be potential match winners, but you need 2 or 3 or 3 or 4. But as you say, that comes with difficulty, because if you've got a settled starting 11, you've then got some good players who think they should be in that 11 who are going to be on the bench every week and might get a little narky about not being in the team. I thought he managed it quite well last year. He rotated we know with some of the away games he rotated a little bit too much and we were left quite weak away from home. But generally, you look at how he managed things for the home games and it worked a treat, didn't it? And that wasn't always with the same 11 players. We had injuries, we had people rested at different times. So he will want... well, let's have a look at who's on the bench at Oxford on Saturday. I'd imagine it won't be the strongest bench you've ever seen because we are still a couple of weeks away from the end of the window. I don't think he will yet be at the point where he's got a bench full of game changers. But that's what you need to work towards if you're going to be successful, or even if you're going to survive.
You mentioned Yengi and Sadie a few moments ago. I don't know if you caught that up in Aberdeen and in Wigan, they've created a storm of absolute opposites. Yengi had a stinker of a debut, apparently, whereas Christian Sadie is being hailed in Wigan as being the best footballer on earth, I quote. What else was it? The best footballer ever to pull on a Wigan shirt, and somebody whose transfer value is already at 100 million.
I must admit, I'd missed any of the Wigan Sadie reaction. I'm glad to hear that, and you can see it, can't you? We know what sort of character he is. I bet he's gone on there. I bet he's put himself about. I bet he's held the ball up for 5 minutes when 3 defenders couldn't get it off him. He's probably scored a goal or set up a goal for somebody. He's he's larger than life sort of character, isn't he? And that's why we loved him, and that's why we were a bit upset when he went. So I'm pleased that he's had that start at Wigan. I hope they don't expect too much of him, and I hope they don't expect that he's going to score 25 goals for them, because I suspect he probably won't. He might score 10 and set up a few for others, but he's not. Don't think he's a prolific scorer, even at League One level. But and yes, I did see Yengi has had a couple of games where the fans there are questioning what have they got themselves and why have they bought him. Hopefully, he'll get over that. He's a confidence player, Yengi, I think, isn't he? He's one of those that when he scores, if he nicks one in from 3 yards, suddenly he'll be floating on air, and then he'll probably score in the next 3 or 4 games. So hopefully that will happen for him up at Aberdeen. Got to wish these players well, haven't you? They might have left, but they did their best for us. Yeah, Yengi was a pivotal player in our title year, as was Sadie. Sadie's been a good servant over a couple of years, so I hope it works out for them both.
Yeah, one Wigan fan tweeted, "I have never laughed so much at a football match as when they kept bouncing off him."
That's the thing, isn't it? It's such strength. And I still remember towards the end of last season, the little bit of theatre we had when we were 1-0 up against Watford. And we had about 10 minutes of injury time, and Richie was telling Sadie where to stand just to shield the ball, and they had about 4 Watford players trying to get it off him, and they couldn't get anywhere near it. And it was great. It was anti-football in a way, but it was great to watch. So yeah, Sadie will be missed, but glad to hear he's doing well up there. I hope we don't regret moving him on, and I'm sure if we can get a couple more forwards in, or people who can operate in the Sadie position, I think we'll be okay.
Now, you mentioned Richie. Reading are interested, but he's going to have to take a further cut in salary. One source, and we don't know how authentic it is, says that to come to Pompey, he took a wage cut from £45,000 a week to £15,000 a week, and he's going to have to drop below that if he goes to Reading. I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I don't know the figure. I don't know if those figures are right. It sounds plausible, doesn't it? In a way, I'd be surprised if he was on as much as 15,000 a week at Pompey. That sounds a lot for the sort of budget we're on at the moment. 45,000 a week at Newcastle probably sounds about right for a player who wasn't a regular any longer in their first team. I don't think with Richie it's about the money. I mean, it is to a certain extent. You need to, if you've been used to earning a certain level of wages, you want to sort of protect that for as far as you can and for as long as you can. But I think it seems to be, this whole thing with him moving on seems to be driven by his desire to play regularly every week, maybe, and Pompey's reluctance to tell him that is going to happen. So I think if he thought he could go to a club where he's going to be the main man, not necessarily the main man, but still a bit of a big fish in a decent sized pond, I think he would go for that, even if it meant another 50% cut in what he's earning. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to work out how highly paid footballers, and let's be honest, top couple of divisions in our country and abroad and everywhere else, they are very highly paid. those of us who are on like an average wage or whatever, you kind of think, well, how long do you need to earn that sort of money to be secure for life? And you kind of think if you're sensible with those wages for a little while, you'll be set up for life. Therefore, in the latter part of your career, you don't need to earn big money. You can carry on playing at a much more sensible wage level. Easy to say, I suppose, when you're not a footballer who's used to earning and spending that much money. But like I say, I don't think Richie. I think if money was everything to Richie, I don't think he'd come back here. I think he probably would have gone elsewhere for more. I still don't think we've heard the full story. We haven't really heard much from him on it, have we? As to what's gone on and why he's suddenly surplus to requirements. I do think that is the one, of all the players we're moving on or have moved on, I just still worry at the moment that we might regret that one.
Well, wide right, I want to get you to focus on, if you will, because there's still people, a man who lives next door but one to me, who I always talk about with Pompey because he's a season ticket holder. He believes that we're still stirring it for Abu Kamara. And yet at the same time, there's this rumour about Yang Min Hyuk. And of course, we've still got Richie on our books.
Yes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is Bianchini somebody who can play on that side as well? The lad we've got in from Swansea?
Probably.
So we've got options there, but it wouldn't surprise me with Kamara if we're still keeping tabs on it, because I think if you could get him, I think if you could tempt Hull to do business, and if he wanted to come back, I think if a deal could be done, I think Pompey would do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hope you're right.
But I don't think they're putting all their eggs in that basket. I don't think it's very likely, but it might just be one of those that is still a possibility in their minds. And I think we spoke about when we first heard that Richie might be moving on. I think one of our theories, might have been mine or might have been yours, I can't remember, was that they were moving him on because they needed to free up space in the wage budget and in his position for a big signing like Kamara.
Well, if he was at Newcastle earning 45,000 a week, I've just done a quick calculation. That's over £2 million a year going into his bank balance, less what his agent charges. But £15,000 a week, that still would have made him taken a big bite out of Pompey's salary structure. So there could be something in that. I want to get you to think about this, though, if you would, off the top of your head. We're down to Waddingham as a conventional number 9. Dare Pompey go out there with a Man City-style format? This is obviously before Haaland came along, where they don't really have a number 9.
Well, I think it's possible. If Waddingham gets injured before Colby's fit again, they might have to, mightn't they? Because you've still got players who are a threat up front. If you went out there with Lang and Segacic and Murphy, I think you can get away with that because it doesn't have to be your number 9 scoring goals. You can still get people in the box, when there's a cross coming in or when there's a set piece. Why not? A few years ago, it would have been unthinkable, wouldn't it, to play without a striker? But football's changed, and it's often the way, isn't it? Man City are the ones who sort of show the way. Pep's not afraid to try different things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I think it's possible. I don't think the manager would choose to do that. But if his hand is forced, why not? A player, what would it be? A 4-6-0 formation or something. Might just work. If it then worked, if it worked well enough, Colby might struggle to get back in the team. Manager might say, I don't need strikers anymore. Doubt it. I'm probably going too far with that. But, Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You don't necessarily need a conventional player in each position these days,
No.
like you used to.
Absolutely. Can we get your thoughts on the captain's armband? How important is it, and how would you play that one?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think leave it with Marlon. I think he's going to play. I think he might even start in midfield on Saturday, and I think he's going to play a lot of games. People have written him off a couple of times, but I still think he's going to play 20, 25 games this season. Therefore, I would keep the captaincy with him. You would need somebody. You'd need a sort of regular deputy, like Richie was the deputy last season. You'd probably want a Paul or a Shaughnessy to be the one to have it if on any occasion when Marlon's not playing. But no, I don't see any need to change it at the moment. I suppose Swift would be a contender for it possibly if the manager didn't think Marlon was going to play regularly enough to be the captain. You've also got this thing about you've got a team captain and a club captain sometimes, haven't you? Which can be two different people. So you certainly say Marlon is still going to be the club captain if they have one. But no, I don't think there's any need to take it off of him. I think he's looked quite good in pre-season, hasn't he? From what I've seen, how would you have assessed him?
Fit, strong, combative. Makes a very good point when he says that pace has never been an important part of his game. He knows the game inside out. Nobody on the pitch wearing a blue shirt is going to want to fail in his eyes. No, that's right. Which is partly why we like him, isn't it? And why he's done what he's done, despite being at a relatively advanced stage of his career. Yeah, on Transfer Market, which is a very reliable website, German owned and run, and it's huge, and they have the lowdown on every team and their playing staff and their likely transfer value. And ignominiously, they've got, for example, I think Lang is something like 2.8 mil, but down at the bottom is Marlon Pack on 200k.
Yeah, surprising. I can kind of understand that because they're looking at what another club would pay for him, I suppose, rather than what he's worth to his existing club, aren't they? And the chances of him moving on to another club at our level are probably quite slim. That does seem a little bit of an undervaluation, though, doesn't it? When you consider, what he brings to us.
Football's a game full of knocks, isn't it? First of all, when you're young and you're with an academy and you get told that you're not good enough and you can go, and then you've got to see if you can fight your way back, which he did. And then, of course, along comes the realisation that you're going to be a professional footballer, but you're never going to play in the Premier League at the top level. That's a disappointment. Then, of course, last thing that comes along is the kids are outstripping you. You're on the subs bench. You've got to start thinking about that dreaded day when you hang up your boots.
Yeah, that's it. Comes to all players, doesn't it? Yeah, and I'm sure you're mentioning that in relation to Pack. I'm assuming, are you? You're wondering what's in his mind. Yeah, I think he's, as you say, he's such a competitor, isn't he? I think he probably thrives on competition for his place, competition from younger players, competition from similar players to him. I think he uses that to drive him on. Rather than be put off by it. And I still think we'll get another year or two out of him at this level. I hope we do. And what we don't know is what he's planning to do after that. You could easily see him moving on to the Pompey coaching staff, couldn't you?
Yes.
With the background he's got, the ties he's got with the city and the club, the sort of aura he's got around him. The effect that he could have on younger players. A little bit like Michael Doyle, who was back on the staff, of course.
Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, pleased to see it actually. Yeah, he was such a such a big character when he was here in that League Two team, in that Paul Cook team. He was like I remember somebody said he was like a modern day Mick Kennedy. You know, for those who watched Pompey in the 80s, Kennedy was the sort of hard as nails midfielder, captain for a while, and then they had the captaincy taken off of him. But he was, Pompey fans absolutely loved him, because when he was out on that pitch, he just gave absolutely everything, flew into tackles, no quarter given, wouldn't stand for anything less than 100% from those around him. And Doyle was the same, you know, 3 decades later. And he's been off, and he's done some managing and coaching at quite a good level, you know, National League Premier level. So he's got a good sort of coaching CV, you know, to his name now. And he's come back, and I believe he's first team coach, is he? I think that's his title. And I think he'll be a good presence. I think he'll be another voice, another angle for the players to sort of to learn from. He's another who you can see going on to have a good manager, if I can say it, managerial career at a decent level.
Could I put you on the spot with no notice and also with no opportunity to actually gen up on it, so you've got almost nothing to go on? Your predictions for the Oxford game? Ha-ha.
Well, there we go. You didn't warn me that was coming. It's hard to predict, isn't it? I think we might sneak a win. And that is you will know that is unlike me, isn't it, to predict an away win. We have actually got quite. People think Oxford. Oh no, Oxford. Something disastrous always happens against them, and it sometimes does. But actually, our record at the Kassam, which I see they're gonna have another new ground soon, aren't they? They've now got permission to move again. So that won't have lasted very long, the Kassam. Our record there is pretty good, and it was one of the 3 away grounds we won at last year in the league, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. I think Oxford might struggle a bit this year. They kind of kept pace with us last year. It was a little battle between the two to see who was going to finish higher, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Last year. I think they might struggle this year. I think we might just sneak a little 1-0 win.
Lovely. As ever, Steve, thank you so much indeed for your wisdom. Talk at the same time next week. In the meantime, have a good week.
You too. Look forward to it.